are exciting things that the Lord is doing. If the Lord wills, that we're able to move toward those things, and we'll see. We'll just see what we're able to do and what the county allows us to do and how the Lord leads us. And so we're looking forward to that. I'm grateful for the opportunity tonight to share with you. I did a dry run with the deacons on this. I practiced, and it went horribly. I blubbered my way through it. I got quite emotional as I was talking about these things because no one enjoys facing the reality of aging and transitioning. I'd love to do what I'm doing for forever and ever and ever. I mean, I'm not weary of it. I love it. It's a great joy to me. I've been called as a pastor, and I am a pastor, and I'll always be a pastor. I mean, until I die. I mean, that's just what God has created me to be, and I love it. And I continue to serve Him, regardless of what is happening or where I am. I'm going to serve Him. I'm grateful for that. My desire is to do that here. He has called me here. And this is the church that God has called me to serve, and I have delighted in doing it, and will do that as long as He wills. And my joy is to be a pastor here at this church. But I recognize, as you do, that people age. They get older. Now, I'm fighting that all I can, and I recognize that, however, no one has succeeded in that battle. Everyone gets older. And as they get older, their energies change, things change, and they can't sustain everything. Physical and mental limitations as we age are inevitable that hinder one's ability, especially in a role as swiftly moving and high-powered as pastoral ministry is. Such changes can address or affect your ability to shepherd effectively. And Scripture itself acknowledges the effects of aging. Deuteronomy 31, Moses is talking, and he says, I am no longer able to come and go, and the Lord has said to me, you shall not cross this Jordan. He led them through the wilderness, but he wasn't going to be able to take them into the promised land. In addition, was, of course, his sin. We recognize that. But Moses recognized his limitation and was eager to pass his leadership role over to Joshua, which he did successfully as the Lord willed. Now we know that Isaiah 46, I will be the same. God does not age. He is the same. And he says, and even in your graying years, I will carry you. I have done it, and I will bear you, and I will carry you, and I will save you. So God says, I am your strength, and that is true. However, just the need to say it, even in your old age, even in your graying years, I will be faithful to you, acknowledges that things do change. And so we can't ignore that. We have to recognize that. And I think that there is many different opportunities for us to recognize that there is a diminishment in capacity and capability and mental acuity and other things. Now, I don't believe I'm there. I think my mental acuity is fine and my energy levels are fine. Everything's good. I mean, I'm not, gasping or anything, trying to get to the finish line at all. I'm full of fuel, and I am grateful for that. But as I approach 70, I'm going to be 66 here next week. In July 2nd, so I guess it's the week after next. And I recognize 66, 67, 68, 69. As I approach 70, things are going to change. And I can't avoid it. I don't know how dictionary. I'm not going to try to catch up, or the elders are not going to try to catch up. They're going to be proactive together with me to make sure that the ministry in this pulpit is as quality as it can be. That is, God is worthy of that, Christ is worthy of it, the Word of God is worthy of it, and the saints that God has purchased with His own blood are worthy of it. You are worthy of that. So our desire is to provide a succession in ministry to where there's a gradual transition from my pulpit ministry And the elders have all agreed. Have I in the initiative of preaching and having a Q&A and being available to you for any questions that you may like to ask. And this is biblical. This is the way I believe it should happen in the church. It should not be that I say to you, all right, I'm done, give you a 4-week notice and move somewhere and let you guys try to find a new pastor. It should be a transition. In fact, I told George several years ago, I need to know whether you're willing to do this by 2025, because I want to have at least 3 years of transition with whoever it is that's going to take over for me. So if you're not going to be that guy, if that's not what you feel God is calling you to do, you need to let me know so that we can bring somebody in that I could have time with as we transition. And this is a biblical principle. We see this with Moses to Joshua in Deuteronomy 31. We see it with David to his son King Solomon. We see it to Paul, from Paul going to Timothy and Titus, where he trained them up. And we recognize that these transitions reflect preparation for the next generation and acknowledging the need for fresh strength and energy and leadership. And as my energy does wane, I'm praying that George's energy will just increase and that he'll pass me somewhere along the line, and that would be great. 2 Timothy 2 says, the things that you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust these to faithful people who will be able to teach others also. And that's why I desire to pour very intensely into George, as I have been for the last 7 years. By the time this transition is consummated, he will have been here 10 years among us. And I will have had 10 years of investment in him and he in me, because I'm the better man because of him. And I'm grateful for that. Pastors are called to shepherd the flock with diligence and clarity and vigilance. And shepherding includes teaching, of course, but it includes more than teaching. You can shepherd without being the principal teacher. Our elders are doing that. They're involved in shepherding. They have teaching opportunities, but they're not the main teachers. But they are shepherds, vital for the health and vitality of our ministry. And I desire to shepherd this church, to be a part of the pastoral influences that this church knows and enjoys. I desire to do that. And if age and fatigue hinders an ability of a pastor to teach, he can then consolidate his energies into shepherding. Because it is a grueling thing to pump out multiple sermons every week and have them be of the quality that the Lord is worthy of. It's a lot of work. And as a result, I find myself battling for study time because I'm shepherding a lot. And there would be a luxury in being able to just shepherd and not have to do that 20 hours, that 15 to 20 hours of preparation that's required every week, but to use that for shepherding. That would be awesome. Given the fact that in August, I think it is, that I'm completing a bucket list item of being able to successfully and carefully teach through the entire New Testament verse by verse. When I finish 2 Corinthians, I will have taught every verse of the Bible. And so having done that, I'm done. Not really. Not really. I'm going through John a second time, and that's been a joy. But I'll be able to just exercise my gifts. I believe my gifts are varied. Both teaching is, I think, one of my gifts, but shepherding and caring for people, loving people, counseling people, mentoring men, discipling individuals, leading Bible studies, possibly teaching equipping hours, and so on, are all in the future that I see indefinitely, forever. I mean, as long as the Lord tarries and he has me here. So my wife and I are not interested in transitioning out of Grace Bible Church at all. Our desire is to stay, if you'll have us, of course, and if the elders permit it, which I think at this point they are. At least that's what they're saying. But, I'm looking forward to what the Lord has in the future. Ecclesiastes speaks to God's ordering of seasons. There is an appointed time for everything, and there's a time for every matter under heaven, a time to plant, a time to uproot what is planted. And I was planted here. And there's a time for me to be planted, and I've enjoyed it. And I've prospered, I think, where I've been planted and borne fruit. There is a time to uproot what is planted as well, and to plant something else. And additionally, there is the precedent of changing roles. In the Old Testament, priests were not permitted to serve in the tabernacle or temple until the age of 30. Numbers chapter 4, verse 3 says, "From 30 years old and upward, even to 50 years old, you shall number them, everyone who enters the service to do the work in the tent of meeting." So from 30 to 50, you were able to serve actively in the temple doing the priestly duties. A man could not continue to serve in the temple or tabernacle after the age of 50. You were not permitted. Numbers 8, 25 to 26 says, "But at the age of 50 years they shall retire from service in the work and not work anymore. They may, however, assist their brothers in the tent of meeting to fulfill an obligation, but they themselves shall do no work." And so basically what that means is they were able to go into mentoring and helping the 20-something-year-olds get ready to serve when they become 30. So the over 50 were mentoring the under 30, or the over 50 were mentoring the under 30. And so it transitions into a role of training and mentoring, which I think is a good principle and something I would enjoy doing. So transitioning from the pulpit ministry as the principal teacher to a shepherding ministry does not end a man's usefulness, and I'm looking forward to that. And older men are still expected to teach and counsel. Titus 2 says, "Older men are to be temperate, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and perseverance, teaching the younger men." And so that's what I aspire to do and what I desire to be, a resource. And they can remain, and I would aspire to remain, an example of godliness, serve in prayer, discipleship, writing, mentoring young pastors, and fulfilling the role of an elder in the church, which is appropriate. The Psalm 92 says, "They will still yield fruit in advanced age. They will be full of sap and very green, to declare that the Lord is just. He is my rock, and there is no malice in him." So that's my testimony as well. So here's the plan that I offered to the elders, and they have received and approved. We are recommending George to you tonight, letting you know that he is the one that we feel will do the best in terms of assuming the responsibilities of teaching in the church. And it'll be a 3-year transition. So by 2028, this will be completed, and I will be 69 and a half or so. And so what you've already seen is George has taken Sunday evenings during the summer. That's not by accident. That's been something that we've done in order to see some of his teaching abilities. And this August or September, whenever I finish 2 Corinthians, we're going to give Sunday evenings to George. So he'll have that permanently and be teaching. And so I'll be relieved of Sunday evenings beginning in September. I'll continue on Sunday mornings. Next summer, the summer of 2026, as well as the summer of 2027, my desire is to preach through the Bible. JD came up to me with commendations this morning that I covered 18 verses. He said, "I didn't think that was possible." Well, he's young and foolish, but but he agrees. Most of you agree with him. But what I would like to do is I would like to start preaching one sermon per book, starting in Genesis and go all the way through to the book of Revelation and preach an entire book in one sermon. Now, I wouldn't preach the whole book. I mean, I'd take the main theme of the book and I'd preach it. I'd preach the theme out of that book, right? That's what I'd like to do. Not just give you an overview of every chapter and all that, like I do in an overview of the book I'm preaching through, but I'm just going to, I think that would be a neat thing to do. So that's one of the things I'd like to do. And then in the fall of those summers, 26 and 27, we'll revert, and I'll resume Sunday morning in the study of John, and he will take Sunday evenings again, right? So that's the summers of 26 and 27. And then the summer of 28, I'll just continue to plow through until I finish the Gospel of John. It's the book that I'm preaching through right now. When I finish the Gospel of John, and right now it's around the late summer of 2028 is where I think we'll be finished. At that point, whenever that is, in August, September or ish, then I'll be turning the Sunday mornings over to George, and he'll have both Sunday mornings and Sunday evenings. And I will just shepherd as a pastor emeritus with no obligations, no responsibilities, no pay, just loving on you, and we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I love you, and I want the absolute best for you. So thanks.